Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. Enrique here with my co-host Vince, and we are taking a break from the national tour, coming back home, and we have a special guest Vince is going to introduce and that are impacting our community, our veteran community, and we're so proud to have them with us today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Enrique. We're very fortunate to have Kelly Auguste here from The Mission Continues. She is the Senior City Impact Manager doing some great things. We're going to talk about The Mission Continues, a little bit about Kelly. So be prepared. You're in for a treat. Well, let's start off by saying thank you very much for being here. So, Kelly, just tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. As Vince said, my name is Kelly Auguste. I am the Senior City Impact Manager for The Mission Continues, but a little bit about myself is, first and foremost, military wife, mother, educator, advocate, all that jazz, you know. I have a background in education. I've been teaching for over 10 years, and I have recently shifted over to more of veteran advocacy as my husband was transitioning out of the military. He did 11 years in the Army. And during that time, we, as a family, we have two beautiful children. Our daughter is 19, about to be 20, and our son is just turned 15. And, just a wonderful experience during the military. And, even struggling during the deployment and everything like that, but we still hard chargers, move forward, all that jazz, the military family unit. As he transitioned out, however, I was still teaching full time, but it was definitely a struggle. And I recognizing and really being in that position of how do I support my veteran spouse, my husband, who was struggling at the time, and emotionally, physically, all those things where it was from one day to the next where it seemed like, hey, I'm okay, and everything keeps moving, and to the next where everything kind of stopped, literally, and all the pain and everything else that he never put on, priority in his life. He just kept working. It all hit him at once, basically. And as a spouse, seeing your husband struggle like that, it was very difficult, and still keeping the family unit together. So that pushed me towards advocacy for veterans, because we were not alone in that story. And unfortunately, it was not a unique story. We were very fortunate to find incredible VSOs, veteran organizations that supported veterans and that rallied around us as a family unit, and one being The Mission Continues. And so we, as a family unit, really hung tight to those organizations because they brought us closer together and re-engaged us as a family and what it meant and what we wanted to pursue and support and teach our children and all that. So we were very fortunate, and we have, since then, my husband has done incredible things in the community, and The Mission Continues has just been that vehicle that really propelled us forward as a family and as a couple, in fact, and everything else, and just where we stand in this community and supporting them, and really our passion lies in there.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to hear and heartwarming. And Vince and I are veterans, and we know very well what that road looks like, the ins and outs, and the feelings that come, through our hearts and our minds as we're transitioning. And, I was just speaking the other day, the transition never stops. It just doesn't.
No.
And to hear that Mission Continues is there to support families. And Vince and I are very well aware of a lot of organizations that are out there willing and able to help veterans. But tell me a little bit about Mission Continues.
So Mission Continues, and I joined the Mission Continues actually right at the beginning of the year. and on the staffing side. However, we've been supporting and volunteering with the Mission Continues since 2015. And during that time, my husband was the platoon leader, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. But we have been supporting the Mission Continues and volunteering in our community with them. I joined on as staff as a senior city impact manager, and my role is to empower veterans to continue to serve their communities after they come home and take off their uniforms. So from serving their country to serving their communities, and really finding that inspiration, what motivates them, what empowers them, and linking their leadership skills, their knowledge of, from everything. As a veteran and as a military member, you are taught so many incredible leadership skills, logistics, procurement, everything that you can quantify, definitely, but bringing those that guidance, that skill to a community, especially an under-resourced community, is almost like this beautiful blend that happens. It just gels together. And that is our role, as that is what we do as the Mission Continues, is really taking those incredible skills that our veterans possess and harnessing them through leadership skill, through training and development, and helping them advocate and move mountains within their community. Things that weren't gonna be done or take forever, let's face it, a lot of the times take too long by the time anybody gets around to noticing that there's a problem. But these veterans get in their community, they get down and dirty, and they are on a mission, literally, to transform their communities. So we do this model through what is called the platoon model, which is led by a veteran. But the volunteering force is open to military, active, veteran, retired. It's open to civilians, obviously families. And listen, we think of it all, from the little ones to painting wheelbarrows with their handprints on it, to transplanting or building or doing what we need to do within the community to get the vision across and what we're trying to achieve, and really create that transformation so that the community can take that sense of ownership with them. And so it is just inspiring to see what veterans have been able to do within their communities. As a senior city impact manager, I assist, and I honestly, I say I assist because it is them that are the leaders on the ground, but I support Puerto Rico, Miami, Broward, Orlando platoon, Tampa platoon, Jacksonville, all of Florida, New York's 4 boroughs, and New Jersey, and they are just incredible. Every platoon has a unique mission, or what we call an operation brief, where that veteran has actually analyzed the community, and assessed what are the needs. And so we are able to then go in, find those key partners that are either already providing those resources and need the manpower, the workforce to get the job done, or we start from the ground up. And it's really just an incredible, incredible sense of accomplishment and passion that these veterans bring to their community. So, and which inspires, and it's just a snowball effect where everybody just wants to jump in and continue to serve. But they get down and dirty. And if you've been to any one of our projects, you know that we don't ask for the light work. We're definitely out there building, shoveling, doing what we need to do to make sure that we give a sense of pride back to those communities.
Oh, yes, Kelly, absolutely. Vince right here, myself, I'm a product of flight 2016 Charlie flight. So I too represent the Mission Continues. To your point, it gave me and us a purpose back in service. To your point, service and community, refining and redefining our identity in the community with those patriots and family members. So it is an instrumental and great opportunity for every veteran to be part of their community, to be finding themselves, identifying themselves in the community and give back into service. So I totally want everyone out there listening, if you never heard of the Mission Continues, definitely look them up. They are a great organization that you will not be disappointed. But speaking of what Mission Continue is doing, and what you're doing is great stuff. But here we all been slammed and hit with the pandemic. So
Mhm.
how is the Mission Continues holding up, and what are you all currently doing to deal with the current situation?
So I think as most organizations, during COVID, TMC has really had to focus hard on staying true to our core mission of empowering our veterans to continue to serve. And especially during a time when our traditional model of like in-person service really shifted and had to either go online. But it goes beyond just the service within the community. It is really creating that connectedness with our veterans, and that make sure that they have a sense of community. So whether we were doing virtual projects and still engaging our community partners, and I'll give you an example here in Miami, which is where I'm based out of, we were still able to engage our park system and did a virtual plant fostering, because there were no farmers to take care of those plants. So our veterans stepped up, are fostering those plants currently. And as soon as it's, reasonable and safe to return, and obviously that is our main goal and mission, is returning to service, we will be able to bring those plants back out. But ultimately, we had to refocus, and we really had to answer the call of what did the nation need at that time. And like I mentioned before, every platoon usually has a very unique operations brief, whether it's environmental stewardship, the homeless community, education pillars. I mean, each one has a unique focus within their community. And as a nation, TMC stepped up and answered the call to food insecurity. And in June, we launched Operation Nourish. And every platoon across the country, from Puerto Rico to Hawaii and all the states in between, all of our platoons began work on Operation Nourish. And that looked different depending on where you were. And it could have been planting and doing a home virtual planting project for an urban garden that would be eventually grown within the community, that would supply the community with food, to building ramps where food pantries were struggling, with the increased need of food in the community, and bringing in food and doing daily distributions. We assist with the food distributions, but we also like to see, true to our heart, what do you need, whether it's infrastructure or anything, and like building a ramp to help you lug thousands of pounds of food into a refrigeration unit so that you have safe food to distribute to the community. Those are some of the projects. We did gleaning. Some of our platoons in Central Florida went out and they were harvesting the food to donate it to the food pantries, because there was no one to work the field at that time. And our veterans went out and answered the call to that. And since then, we've done many food distributions, feeding hundreds of thousands of people across the nation. We've partnered up with incredible organizations, Feeding South Florida, Feeding America, just incredible drive and mission that the whole platoons, all the platoons across the nation have just really rallied behind, because that was, and it still is, what our communities need. And obviously hunger was a problem way before COVID ever came onto our plates. And it will continue to be an issue long after it is gone. And so it is one thing that for sure will not stop with us. We're still going to be focusing on our core missions as our nation has now gone back. We're not the same by any means, but there are platoons that are re-engaging the community. And one of those main missions right now is food insecurity. So we are definitely partnering up with some incredible organizations. that have always done that job, and veterans are now standing beside them and making sure that our communities are fed.
I tell you, the mission continues not only has a great history and are involved with great things now, but I'm sure that the mission continues has a future, has something coming up that you would like to share with us, and you know how we can get involved. So what's on the horizon for you guys?
So on the horizon, I mean, if you are a veteran and are interested in leadership, are interested in personal and professional development, we have many programs. Our service leadership core is now the gateway to becoming a platoon leader within your community. We have our women's leadership program, who are working with our women veterans and really just taking that leadership to the next level. And we, of course, have our traditional, and I'm sure, Vince, you might have participated in our mass deployments. Again, as an organization, everything looks a little differently because our number one priority is the safety of our volunteer force and our veterans. And so we follow very strict guidelines, the CDC guidelines for COVID, but we are making sure that our veterans have the opportunity to continue their service through these programs. We are going to still fight forward with our platoon models. We are looking to expand into some rural areas, and that's in partnership with some other incredible organizations. And again, one way to get involved, join a platoon, come out, join with us, serve alongside of our veterans, really understand that our veterans have given so much to our country, and they continue to give so much to each and every single one of us. Their leadership is, without a doubt, one of the most fulfilling experiences that I've had to be a part of, to learn and to develop because of their experiences, and humbled to know what they've struggled, and they continue to fight through, and that they continue to serve our communities. And this is all possible through donations as well. The mission continues couldn't operate, and the way we allow platoons to go in and really focus on their communities is through donations. And so if you're find it in your heart and you're able to donate something, we'd really appreciate it. But more importantly, come join us. Come join us, because we really would love to join another brother and sister in arms out in our communities.
Thank you, Kelly. One thing I would like to underscore is the fact that we would not be able to move forward or be positive in our environment if it wasn't for the family unit, especially spouses. So I just want to thank you for your support and all your endeavors to help us navigate the terrain outside the military. So just want to share that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And as an educator of 10 years and doing the senior city impact manager, so let's talk a little bit about leadership as the leadership void. Here we are, right? So let's find out more about you. Let's find out exactly what professional development areas did you work on to improve your capabilities as a leader?
So I think one of the biggest, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, one of the biggest things you always work on is effective listening. It's not listening, it's effective listening, and it is very different, because we can sometimes hear people, but we're not really listening. And in this particular, in any community, honestly, and with an education background, really learning and understanding where and listening for what people are up against, where people are at in their lives. And that leads you to another incredible development, is also just coming from the mindset of a learner, and that I guess would be from my education background, and really really just coming from a mindset that it doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're kindergarten all the way up to 80, 90, whatever age. everyone has something to teach and something to learn, and really coming from that mindset that you can learn so much from others, but you have to listen for it too. So I always told all my students that we were blessed with 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's because we're supposed to listen more than we speak. But effective listening, being a learner, and having empathy, really understanding that our veterans have gone through so much and yet have so much to continue to contribute, and allowing people to have the space and the grace to be where they're at, and it's okay. And that we're here to support. And I think it's just one of those things where if we gave each other a little bit more love, a little bit more space, a little bit more grace in this world, that, we would get so much further for sure. But it requires us to listen, and it requires us to come from a space of wanting to learn and empathy.
That's marvelous, because I've had conversations this week alone, the last couple of days, concerning listening. And if you look back in our history, Vince and I, we ran a survey, and out of all the things that came out, was listening at the top of every category. So I totally agree that that is one of the attributes that is lacking, and we have to do a better job at. And so you gave some great advice there when it comes to leadership. But when you were coming up, when you were an emergent leader, right, coming up the ranks and learning yourself, what piece of advice do you remember that helped you out?
Honestly, it kind of leads into the same thing of who I am today, and where I've, the same developments that I would give another leader is the same things that I had to learn, as a leader, and giving myself the space and the grace to learn. I think many people are probably more critical of themselves than anybody else, because we want to be the best, or do the best for our communities, wherever that stems from. But giving yourself the space and the grace to learn. And when you learn to do that, to give it to yourself, then you are 10 times more able to give it to others and come from that space. So I think that as a learner, as an emergent learner, I had to develop those skills. Some people always used to think that I was in the military versus my husband. I'm definitely that hard charger, kind of in the household, take charge, and when things, definitely being creative in that mindset, and trying to always, as a military family, pivot at a moment's notice. But I would become flustered. And I think that is really, frustrated, flustered, however you want to call it, stressed out. It is what it is. It looks differently for everyone, but remembering to give myself the space to grow and to learn and to develop, and that grace that it's okay, that we learn from our mistakes. And that's the biggest, we don't always learn when we get it right. We learn when we actually get it wrong, and that's okay. And passing that on to someone else to say, you know what, love yourself, give yourself the space and the grace, because that authenticity for yourself will come off for others.
Give yourself the space and the grace. I'm going to take that one off your plate and use it as well. Thank you for sharing. And as a leader, let's talk. You talk about, faced with adversity and certain challenges, really. So you yourself, what challenges did or do you face, and how do you deal with them?
So I think as a leader, and especially when you're working with a population that has, number one, experienced so much in their lives, even if they're younger than me and come out, I think that a challenge that I face is that I want to immediately jump in and help, and that might not be the right answer. So I think that it's again, that comes from that space of listening, to, you know, and I'll give you an example, and this is a family example, but sometimes my daughter would come to me and she would just want to talk. And it was that communication where immediately I go into mom mode and want to solve problems. I want to solve, like, what's going on? How can I help? What am I going to do? What do we need to do? Move those pieces and whatever, you know? And that was me not listening. And that communication of understanding, like, first listen to where they're at, and that challenge of wanting to always solve the problem immediately versus maybe they just need to share. Maybe they just need that space to get it off their chest. Maybe there isn't a right answer. And that is a hard pill to swallow sometimes, that there isn't a right answer. There isn't a solution at this moment. And that you just being there and just listening is enough. And not listening, you know, effective listening is enough, right? And to really be where that person is at. It has been a challenge because, again, it's my mom mode, maybe it's my military wife mode, I don't know, just go in and it's always this, you know, I hate to say it, but the suck it up and drive on kind of mentality of keep going, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And when you get so caught up in trying to solve the problem, you miss what's really needed sometimes. And so that is a challenge that a lot of us face, being with people with where they're at. And that has been a challenge. You know, it's something that I have to self-reflect every day. I'm very fortunate to have my husband to help me self-reflect every day, and my children who help me as well. But it takes self-reflection. It takes for you to not take things as if it's your personal charge to solve the world's problems, but really just be with that person with where they're at in their life, and that's okay. And that, you know, it can be very challenging when you come with that passion that you want to help, but that sometimes just being there is to help enough.
Yeah, it's impactful what you just said. Being where they are. The
Mm-hmm.
the problem, it truly is that, right? Because empathy requires you to be where they are,
Mm-hmm.
not where you are or where you think they should be, but where they are. And it's so impactful. It makes a world of a difference when you go to someone for help and they are able to actually see where you are and help you from that point on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, you know, you're right. It requires nothing from us except an ear, or comfort, or a shoulder, or just a word of peace, right? It's gonna be okay. You know, we're gonna make it. Um, but every challenge and every situation requires strategy. And in terms of leadership, you know, how have you been able to strategize and help your team deal with different changes that have come? Because this year has been nothing but a change for the world, right? So how do you do that?
So, and there's several, as far as to say that when I have a new platoon leader, or if I'm working with a veteran, strategies, number one is to stay organized. I've gone from managing five, six platoons to quite a few more. 20 veteran platoon leaders. Number one, stay organized. Helping them stay organized is another part of my role in keeping them focused on what is the mission, what are our goals and objectives, and I say ours, but truly it's theirs. And then the first step is always to find out, where does their heart lie? Where is their passion? Because in the darkest of times, that is what's going to pull you through. You know, the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And so helping them understand that, develop that strategy of assessing, well, what's your why? Why are you doing this? I know why we do this. Why are you here? And what do you want to accomplish? And that's the first one, because when you know, I won't say it's all puppies and rainbows. You know, you get into a community and you have people who have seen people come and go, you know, and they get that experience of like, oh well, you're only here for a minute and then you're gone. And so, you know, that is obviously not the experience we want to leave them. We want to let them know that we are their partners, we're their brothers and sisters, and we're here to fight with them. But it is an incredible coat you have to wear, you know, to just be able to carry that on you. So knowing your why and helping them assess, like, why are you here and what do you want to accomplish from even being a platoon leader, or helping your community in the way that we're helping the community. Why? That's number one, because that will really carry you through when the going gets tough, right? But on top of that, and staying organized, knowing your why, I think strategies, it's so hard. There's so many. I mean, obviously them learning who I am, why I do what I do, and developing a system for us to continue to communicate and effectively communicate. It's really important to understand that each person does not perceive or receive information in the same way. So what is the best strategy for them? How to communicate with them is another skill. And, you know, and we have all those different little tests and things that you can take about how, you know, how do you like to receive information, and how do you like to give information. Praise is another complicated topic. You know, some veterans like praise, some do not, you know. So it's really getting to know those individuals for who they are. And then taking that and developing a strategy, a plan, how to move forward, how to accomplish what they want to accomplish, and really setting those goals from the beginning, understanding their why and developing a plan to help them execute that. So there's so many little pieces in there, but it is definitely, number one, get to know who they are and get to know why they're doing what they're doing, so that you can continue to motivate them when things aren't always puppies and rainbows.
Not always puppies and rainbows, indeed, but know your why is very important, and definitely there's a big why, and the mission continues. And one quick question, and then share about how to reach you. How many platoons are there around the United States? Just a number.
So we have over 50 platoons across the nation. Most of them are in major cities. Some of them, we have multiple in major cities. Houston has 5 platoons alone. But we have, and then we're continuing to expand in some of these rural areas, because it has been seen that if a leader steps up and they say, hey, I want to bring this to our community, we at least provide them the tools and the development to continue to go do what they need to do in their communities. Okay. So it's impressive, and I continue to see them. The mission continues, will continue, and I apologize for saying continue, but it is true that we'll continue to fight forward and expand and get into more cities to help those under-resourced communities and communities at large. So
right. And definitely, folks, for those who are listening and heard Kelly, a senior city impact manager for the Mission Continues, you want to join, you want to know more about it, how do they reach you or the Mission Continues? Absolutely.
So our brand new website that actually just launched the other day, is fantastic, is the Mission Continues with an S.org. Right from there, you will be able to, there's a really unique map at the bottom, so you can actually see, not only see where all the platoons are located, but you can also see up-to-date current projects that are happening, so that you can join in. If you are in your city, definitely type in your zip code and see where the nearest platoon is, and be able to join in on those projects. No experience is needed. Everybody is welcome, of all ages. I can be reached by email. It is K Auguste, it's spelled like August with an E at the end, at missioncontinues.org. And I am based out of Miami. And we also have our Facebook pages. Every platoon has their Facebook page. So the Mission Continues Miami, and all of them, no matter where you are in the country, you can definitely look them up. And we also have Instagram, but Facebook is our primary focus, our primary social media tool.
Outstanding. And folks, we'll provide all of that at the bottom of the video. We'll make sure to also include it in the text so that you can be able to reach the Mission Continues and join them. Talking about joining them, if you would like for us to mention or cover a specific leadership topic, the leadershipvoid@gmail.com is our address. Please send us that information. Vince and I will curate it, make sure everything's good to go, and we'll approach it as necessary. If you have shirts, hey, Vince, Vince is sporting a nice Mission Continues shirt. And if you would like for us to sport one of your shirts, be on a podcast or sponsor us, also email us at that email address.
Right. And again, thank you, Kelly, for being with us today. Again, for me, the Mission Continues was a stepping stone to be where I'm at today. So folks out there, please reach out to her, go to their newly reformed website. Again, thank you. And as we continue, we're back on the road next week. We're going to stop in Virginia. We have Dr. Sarah Spalding, who is the CEO of Vertrian Advantage. So we're going to definitely talk about her, the talent management solutions they offer to maintain the competitive edge in today's industries. She has a lot to offer, and we're so excited to hear from her. But today we just want to honor and thank Kelly, such a dynamic spouse, a dynamic individual, educator, and leader in the community at the Mission Continues. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.